Hi again, I'm Lisa DiFrancesco with Regional Water Authority. This is our second classroom program, and today we're going to take a closer look at the Mill River watershed and some of the things we might find inside of it. But before we do that, like I promised, we're going to be starting out class again with our water quality worksheet. This time the water quality worksheet looks a little bit different. Some of the blanks are filled in, some aren't. Your job is to fill in the information that's missing. We're going to pause the video here so your teacher can pass out a worksheet to everyone, and you're going to fill in the missing information. When you're done, we'll start the video back up and review what you filled in. When we're reviewing the missing information, if you couldn't remember what it was or if you spelled something wrong, go ahead and fill it in or correct it on your worksheet as we go. In the box with the cow next to it, you should have nitrates and the word bad. The next box is dissolved oxygen, and that is good. The next box is water temperature, and we didn't put any reminder for good or bad on that one, just water temperature. And the last box is pH, small letter P, capital letter H, and our note on there was 6 to 8 is good. That's the healthy range. We're done with the worksheet for today, so go ahead and put that away. But we are going to start the next class with a review of that worksheet again. I'm sure you can figure out what blanks are going to be missing next time, but make sure you do look it over and review it again. Before we jump into looking at our maps and aerial photos of the Mill River watershed, let's just do a quick review of what a watershed is. Just for a review, a watershed is an area of land that no matter where water falls inside of it, it's all going to mix together into one common spot, like a lake or a river. Looking at our diagram that's up on the screen, that yellow dotted line is outlining our watershed. Any water that falls inside that yellow line is going to go into the river that runs through the center of it. Let's take a look at a map of the Mill River watershed. There are 3 main colors on the map: blue, black, and red. I want you to figure out what you think those 3 colors represent. We're going to pause the video here so your teacher can divide the class into 5 groups and give each group a map of the Mill River watershed. Once you have it, I want you talking with the people in your group and figuring out what those 3 colors on the map represent. Let's start with blue. That's a really common color that we see on maps. Blue represents water, and in this case, it's the Mill River. Black represents the town borders. It separates one town from another. And the red is the watershed boundary. So any rain that falls inside that red line, any snow that melts, pollution that gets spilled, that whole tan area inside, any water that falls in that area is eventually going to make it into the Mill River. The Mill River is a pretty large area. What I want you to do next with your group is figure out how many towns are part of the Mill River watershed. There's no one town that's completely inside of it, but there are multiple towns that are part of it. Here's a hint. Take a look at where the black lines, the town boundaries, cross the watershed boundaries, the red line. We're going to pause the video here and give you some time to figure that out. So how many towns did you find? The answer is 6. Let's take a look at the 6 towns. We have Prospect. That's in the upper left-hand corner. It's the light green colored one. Cheshire, it's a large town. That one's purple. Then Wallingford, the pink one on the right. Bethany, that's the smallest town that's part of the watershed. It's the 2 small brown areas. Hamden is the large tan area in the middle, and then last is North Haven, a very thin slice of it in orange on the right. Anything that happens in these parts of the 6 towns that are colored in will eventually end up in the Mill River and affect the water quality. Next, we're going to take a detailed look at a couple areas inside the Mill River watershed. Everyone's going to get a worksheet that looks like the one up on the screen right now, and each group is going to get 2 different aerial photos, one of Sleeping Giant State Park and one of Lake Whitney. We're going to pause the video here so your teacher can pass out the worksheet and the 2 different aerial photos. When you get it, I want you to start working with your group, looking at the photos and answering the questions that are on the worksheet. When you're done, we'll resume the video and talk about what you found. Sleeping Giant State Park is on the northern end of Hamden, and that's going to be our first water testing location. Some of the notable things you might have seen in that photo, the large open area where there aren't houses or roads or anything like that, that's Sleeping Giant State Park. Just below the state park is Quinnipiac University, and the road that's running down the left-hand side of the picture, that's Whitney Avenue, and it runs the entire length of Hamden. There's lots of other little things you may have picked up on as well, houses, smaller roads, and if you look really close, you can even see cars in the picture. The other photo is of Lake Whitney, and that's going to be our last testing spot. You can tell just by looking at the 2 photos, Lake Whitney is a very different area than Sleeping Giant State Park. Some of the notable things in the Lake Whitney photo, we have the New Haven Country Club. That's in the upper right-hand corner. All those long, skinny green stripes, that's a golf course. There's a lot of neighborhoods in the Lake Whitney photo, and the Eli Whitney Museum is also in it. It's right at the very bottom, and that's where the waterfall is in Hamden. It's right on the Hamden-New Haven town line. As far as similarities between the 2 photos, they both have trees, water, roads, buildings, cars. It's easy to see differences when you start looking at the quantity of what's in each picture. One of the pictures has more trees and more open space. Another one has more water and more buildings. You have to start looking at those details to see the differences. Today you learned that there are 6 different towns that are part of the Mill River watershed. And whatever happens inside the watershed in the parts of those 6 towns will eventually make it into the river. That's why we're testing it. We can see if there's any pollution on the land that's making it into the river. It's going to show up in our test results. You also got to see some pretty specific details about our first testing location and our last one. Next time I see you, we're going to be using the water quality test kits that I'll have out in the field on the day of the field trip. And don't forget to review your water quality worksheet. You will see that again at the beginning of the next class. That's all for today. Have a great day. I'll see everyone next time.